Mike Pipa, what's up, my friend?
Nothing much, dude. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It was a crazy day today. I don't know if they expected it, if they liked it. I don't know. What are you thinking so far? Heupel is our guy
Oh,
now. Week or less than a week, we've got all this. I don't know. What do you think?
man, it's been a crazy week. I think, coming out of the weekend or whatever, I felt really great because of the AD hire. I felt like, things are moving in the right direction, a lot of good things. He had, a reputation with the national media. It seemed like, all right, this guy's going to, make the right hire for us. I honestly, I like the hire. I don't know that I love it, but also I kind of understand that there's extenuating circumstances that maybe prevented us from getting a guy that would have been a true home run. So I think that's one thing that Vol fans need to understand. I mean, the state of the program is not great. We're losing a lot of talent. They're transferring out. And then on top of that, you've got the NCAA sniffing around. I'll stop there because I could probably monologue about all this for another 90 seconds. But yeah, what are your initial thoughts just after hearing it's Josh Heupel and kind of getting that, getting the coach?
This is going to be something crazy because all these like coordinator hires are going to be very, very good, but I don't know if they're going to be good for us. You know what I'm saying? Sorry for the malfunction. I actually touched the mute button.
I was like, oh no. But okay, we're good. We're good. We're
Really
back.
good. Must have cleared it off.
So maybe a quick recap. Give us that last 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
So I'm a fan of getting an actual head coach. I know it looked like a lazy hire. That was the big thing today.
Yeah.
It was a lazy hire, but
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of already getting an established coach. I think Heupel's had plenty of experience so far. I mean, 3 years, man. Some of the OCs and DCs out there that will probably make fantastic head coaches. Awesome. I just don't think that's for us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think this is something we need to go ahead and get. I'm glad we got a head coach. Um, I don't know if it was home run for me, but
Yeah.
it was a good solid base hit. Still lot to prove. Are you disappointed, or were you thinking it was gonna be somebody else? Do you think it was lazy?
I don't think it was lazy, and I'll tell you why. I think
Okay.
you look at the way the hire shook out, in my opinion, and I know that in the press conference he stated otherwise, but in my opinion, we had other people that we went after first,
Yeah.
and from what I understand, there was several people we went after other than Josh Heupel,
Mhm.
and I think that it just didn't pan out with those guys because of the NCAA investigations or because of where the roster's at. I'm not entirely sure. But for whatever reason, I think we probably swung and missed on 3 or 4 guys. And then at
Yeah.
that point, and honestly, it might have been more. I mean, I don't know. We don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, but I do know that they had contact with other candidates. Tony Elliott, obviously, there was a lot of smoke around the James Franklin candidate. So as him with him as a candidate, even Sonny Dykes. I mean, people like that. There was a lot of smoke that would suggest that at least there was some communication going on between both parties.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's like if he hadn't gone down those channels and hadn't tried to make other hires or like at least maybe tested out the waters, then I would have thought that it would appear lazy. But I really think Heupel was more so a result of the state of the program and where we're at. That was kind of like the option he was left with that was the best after he struck out on the 2 or 3 that he didn't, that he wanted to go after maybe ahead of Heupel. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not lazy for me. Is that how you see it, or do you think that maybe I don't know. Do you believe what he said when he said it's like his first, that we were the first one that we wanted to offer? It may have been the first official offer, in my opinion, but
I think it was. It sounds like that was about the only offer.
Mhm.
I think I do believe that there were some times that we probably went after the Franklins. I I just don't know why you would already leave that spot. Maybe you want to. Maybe Franklin does want to come back to the SEC. He supposedly really loved living in this state. I mean, it's just a little bit different.
Right.
You ain't as cold.
Nope.
But I do think that it looks like he was. I think Heupel winds up being exactly like you said, the best of what was left for us.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad thing. That's not a knock. It's just saying where this Tennessee program is right now.
Mhm.
It ain't great. It ain't in that spot, but
No.
at least we got somebody that's proven, and we got an offensive guy. So
Yeah.
after looking at the numbers and all the little fun stuff today, are you excited at least about the offensive side? Because it's a total change from what you're going to get from Pruitt. This guy's really had a great resume. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But were you excited more so because he is that offensive guy?
Yeah. No, I think it's extremely exciting from that perspective. I mean, the fact that he had top 5 offenses every year at Central Florida, a lot of people want to make the knock that, oh, his record trended down in his 3 years there from the time that he took over from Scott Frost. They had the undefeated season and the self-proclaimed national title, which I understand. But you still look, even this season where they went, 6-4, 6-3, whatever it was, they still put up a lot of points, and they did that. They've done that every year. In the last 2 years, they didn't even have who they thought was going to be their starting quarterback going into that season. He had to adjust. And so I think the fact that he's able to generate such prolific offense, and against guys like Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, I mean, the conference that they play in isn't really, it's not maybe amazing, but it's not a terrible conference. There's a lot of talent there. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see what he can put together offensively. His numbers at Missouri weren't as good as I initially thought. I don't know if you looked any further into that, like when he was the offensive coordinator in 2017. But nonetheless, I think, man, he's got, could have a lot of upside there, and I think he'll have more talent here. Definitely than, well, I won't say definitely. He could have more talent here than he's had at Missouri or Central Florida, especially a year or two to his tenure as head coach. So, what do you think? We going to score some points?
I do think so. Gregory here, man, he really does. He believes that Heupel's going to be a good coach. I'm with him. I do think it's going to be a good hire. I don't know if it's a bringing down what we had hoped Kiffin would be. And I do believe that we're going to have a good coach here. I'm excited about the offensive numbers. I was just looking back. I mean, you forget he was an OC at Oklahoma. He was somebody that beat Saban with Trevor Knight.
Yeah.
He wasn't the head coach and had a lot of great time under some really good coaches. I mean, Frost for those years was awesome. He was there with Bob Stoops in Oklahoma. Hell of a run that dude had.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you love him or whether you hate him, I know Heupel got fired, but he wound up getting replaced by what is an absolute stud at Oklahoma now. So it's like, man, do you fault them because they're in that spot Tennessee wants to get to, where it looks like you want to get to that spot where you can make a change because you have to elevate. It's time to move to like let's do it now. We got to win now.
Right.
Tennessee just wants to get to a spot where they can even think about that. So we have a guy that's going to really put up some numbers. It's going to be able to compete. I was actually talking to somebody earlier today. Because it's not like Georgia and Florida are just so dominant right now that there's not at least a door open.
Right.
So if you get a team that can really bid up some numbers, man, you can compete around the East. You can win. There's going to be some down years for those teams.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talent leaves, and maybe, just maybe, you can compete in the East every other year. Compete. I'm not saying win. Compete.
Right.
So Are you a believer that with the door, I mean, it's a crack. Don't get me
Right.
wrong, but
Right.
with the right staff, which we're going to need, do you feel like there's at least a chance to
Yeah.
compete with Heupel?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm overly optimistic, and that's something I've kind of been like checking myself about because I'm like, man, usually like new head coach, I'm usually super optimistic about the future, super pumped, like thinking, all right, this guy's going to take us there. I think with the NCAA investigation going around, it kind of provides a dark cloud around the program, and you're not really sure, is there going to be something that's serious? Are there going to be sanctions that are handed against Tennessee? Or is it going to be kind of a slap on the wrist? I don't know, and that remains to be seen. But I do think that us having an offensive coach could be a game changer. That's obviously the way that college football and even the NFL is moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think that you get better defensive performances when your defense knows they can count on your offense for a score. You know, it's like they're not playing with as much pressure, thinking like in the past few years, I really think that a lot of times our defense felt like, man, we've got to hold them to under 3 touchdowns to have a chance in this game because our offense isn't going to go out and going to score a bunch of points. And so I think having that will help. It'll always give you a puncher's chance in the game if you can go out and you can score 35 or you can score 38 in the SEC. Lane Kiffin, first year at Ole Miss, maybe that's a bad word to say right now. Sorry, but I know a lot of people were interested in him as head coach, and I'm kind of with him in that. But I'm happy with how everything turned out.
Yeah.
But all that to say, he gave Alabama a better game than just about anybody did this year. And a lot of that's because they have that high-powered offense. And, I mean, he gave Florida a decent – I mean, first game of the season, and I think it ended up maybe Florida won by 14 or 21. But they hung like 40 points on Florida, for 35 first game. Something I might be misremembering. But it was a high-scoring game. And that's what I'm trying to say. If you've got a high-scoring game, you're always going to be in the game. So, anyway, I'm just excited to see us score some points, man. We've seen these boring offenses, and we can't throw the ball for more than 150 yards.
That's frustrating.
And it'll be nice to just, even if we lose, to go out and throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns and lose in a shootout versus we lost 12-32, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Heupel's numbers really, really stand out. The Drew Lock era, that was a big one today. Was talking about his development with quarterbacks is fantastic. What he did with the guys at UCF, but the Drew Lock one is big time because you're looking at it was the first year without Heupel. He was like, he was a freshman. It was like 11. It was like 20 touchdowns, 11 picks. It was pretty rough, and then shoots up to 44 touchdowns or something crazy, and then gets up to 10 picks, way better odds. I actually think it was 33 and 10, something like that. And then has another very solid year and then regresses after Heupel leaves. So it literally sounds like this guy is a great quarterback. He was the QB coach with Landry at Oklahoma, and Sam what was his name? Sam Bradford, a couple of solid quarterbacks in college.
Number 1 pick in the NFL draft 1 year.
Maybe, I don't know. He was okay.
He's okay.
Shout out to Sam Bradford. But had some really, really good quarterback development. But, like our boy Kay Stover says here, at this point, we just need to get back to 7-8 wins.
Yes.
And quarterback play is where that all develops from. And I really think that we have found the guy that it can at least do that. I do want to switch over to the defensive side of the ball. What are your thoughts? Do you want Steele to stay, or do you like some of the rumblings from, I think it's the Ole Miss's defensive coordinator, right? Is it who he has ties with?
Yeah, well, Ole Miss offensive coordinator for sure. And
offensive coordinator, that's right.
Yeah. Because his name's they call him Lebby. I don't know his actually maybe Lieb or something. I don't know. But he's the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. And yeah, he was the offensive coordinator under Heupel before he went to join Lane Kiffin's staff this past season. So I think you probably have a lot of people that would be in favor of him joining the staff with how well Ole Miss's offense performed. I know a lot of people see Kiffin as the brainchild of that offense, and there's probably some validity to that. But hey, they did some good things together at Central Florida.
Mhm.
He did good things with Kiffin and Ole Miss in the SEC. I think that could be a great hire.
Yeah, I do too. I look forward to seeing what he does with the staff. I mean, you got to find recruiters.
Right.
That's a big thing. I know it's already stated that he's reaching out to former guys. I don't know who those guys are, but former UT ball players turning into coaches is a good thing.
Yeah.
I imagine it is a full on. We're interviewing everybody. I would love. I think T really wants to stay. I would love to keep him around. Sounds like Jay Graham's already gone to Alabama, right?
Yeah, I heard Nick Saban wants him on the staff. I haven't heard much else, but I've been a little bit out of the loop today.
Yeah,
So
sounds like Jay's gone to Alabama, so that's a tough one to lose. I know we had a couple transfers for head to Oklahoma already for that, so we'll talk about the transfer portal here in a few minutes. But it's really going to depend on his staff for me to feel like Heupel's ready.
yeah.
And I don't want to sound negative because I do think it's somebody I like. I don't. If I was like to put a percentage on it, I'd say like 60, 40, 60 with being, I feel good about it. And then the 40% skeptical just because of, he did regress each year
Right.
At UCF, but also he's had a lot of talent come through and done really well with that talent. So yeah, I don't know, man. If you could keep, is there anybody you would really want to keep off the staff right now?
I mean, I like the idea of keeping T for sure. I read a post. I can't remember who it was from. It was from a former UT player, and he was talking about how he just got off the phone with T, and he was super upset. And he didn't really list the specifics, but it seemed to me like maybe T was upset that he wasn't considered to be the head coach. So I think, I wonder if he would be willing to stay on staff with Heupel, because, I wonder if he feels a little bit slighted that he had coordinator experience at USC. I mean, he's kind of similar a little bit to Coach Heupel. I mean, the guy's been offensive coordinator, national championship winning quarterback. I mean, obviously didn't run up for the Heisman, but there are some similarities. And I feel like in some ways he's maybe a less qualified version of Coach Heupel. I was kind of confused why they wouldn't have named him the interim instead of Kevin Steele. I get Kevin Steele's maybe got a little bit more experience, but I don't know. Not going to get into all that, but I do wonder if he'll stay on staff because it did seem that he felt a little bit slighted because of maybe how the coaching staff went down. As long as I'm not reading too much into things that I'm reading online, but I would say I would love to keep him if he's willing to stay. Jason Witten had made comments about being the head coach of Tennessee.
I did see that.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's our tight end. If he would come back to be the tight end coach, he would cement himself even more as a Vol legend, I would say. Don't know if that role would be beneath him, but I mean, I'd take any of the VFLs that want to come back and coach that. I don't know, maybe not in a coordinator position because I feel like those are super important, but you get a guy like Jason Witten that's coaching your tight ends, man, that'd fire me up.
That looks good on a on a sort of a pitch, You get somebody like that because Jason did retire today. 17 seasons, guy looks great.
Yeah,
he was a terrible Monday Night Football guy, but we'll leave that off the resume, big dog. That would be very interesting.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of that came from that little 2-minute snippet on what show was that on? That was
it Dan Patrick, I think.
It was Dan Patrick's. It was talking about the money bags.
Yep.
And that little snippet, some stir around for Jason Witten. And I was like, if anybody, anybody, I really thought, if somebody I thought, now I know he won't do it because he's getting too much, but Gerard Mayo was actually like a small hope for me. Now I knew because he's a big NFL guy.
Yeah.
He's gonna do that, and he's gonna be very successful. He's a part of the coaching tree of New England and the Belichick run. So I understand like what he's gonna wind up being in the NFL. Great for him. But there was like this small amount of hope where he was like, there was a one job I could take in college, I was like, Rod Mayo.
Dude, honestly, I was all about Gerard Mayo, especially when I heard some like James Franklin wasn't going to be like some of these like guys that we weren't like Lane Kiffin. They were saying wasn't really on the table because of the administration or whatever. You're hearing some of these, and you're like, honestly, Gerard Mayo, the guys worked with Bill Belichick. Like, also, you get a young guy in there that could have totally been like energizing for this program, but. That's neither here nor there. We're not going to go too far down fantasy land, but yeah, if he was willing to come back and be the defensive coordinator, I mean,
hey,
I don't know. I'm with you though. It'd be tough for him to walk away from where his career is like working towards or progressing towards in the NFL because he's on his way to having a head coaching job in the NFL.
100%.
And he'll be there, I would say, in 3 or 4 years, maybe not even that long. So he would definitely be like a sacrifice and a labor of love for him at the University of Tennessee, but I'd welcome him in a heartbeat. For sure.
But, yeah, that'd be a fun one. Yeah. If you were to look back and you're looking at the coaching list, the PJ Flex, the Hugh Freeze, was there anybody that you were like leaning towards? I mean, like, if you like, did you actually think some of those guys, or was it just like they're in like the news, you know what I'm saying? They're in the rumor mill, but did you ever think any of those guys were actually plausible?
I didn't really buy the Hugh Freeze, and mainly because of the NCAA stuff. Like everybody was saying, you're not going to go out and hire a guy that just got in trouble with the NCAA after, like, literally when you're still maybe on the chopping block for NCAA violations. And then the big thing that they kept hammering was integrity, which made me kind of think maybe they're not going to go Lane Kiffin, but I don't know. Still wouldn't have been against it, though, so don't mishear me. I think, I would still say I was on the Lane train personally, but I didn't really know who we had a shot at from among the realistic candidates. I wouldn't have hated Bill O'Brien. I don't know if that was realistic. Obviously, he was a terrible GM for the Texans, but pretty good college football coach at Penn State.
Yeah.
Gus Malzahn had the massive buyout, but I thought maybe that could be good. I thought Tom Herman might not be bad. I mean, kind of a similar Rick Barnes scenario.
Yeah, that's who somebody else I was thinking about.
But what about you? Did you have any guy that you kind of had your eyes on that you were hoping Tennessee would go for?
I like the Tom Herman idea. I love a guy that's, I mean, yes and no. I think that was kind of like just because Rick Barnes did it. Like, I would love the UT to UT transfer.
Yeah.
As selfish as that is, but
make that work twice. That would be kind of funny.
That would be awesome. But I realistically, I wasn't sure about it. They didn't look great all the time. And if it wasn't for some really great plays by their QBs, I don't know. Yeah, Texas, that was one I thought was actually pretty realistic. I'd actually heard a lot of rumors on the fact that the SEC really didn't want the combination of Hugh Freeze and Tennessee. That's one I could 1000% understand.
Right.
Of the guys getting back in the game. Let's get him to the place that was handing out McDonald's bags. It's true or not, but
yeah,
like I could 100% see that being like what, Freeze is not invited to the party just yet. Like,
yeah,
we're cool, but like, well, not yet. So that was always a thing for me. Was I even thought about that before I even heard it. Was like, I just don't know if that's a combination they're going to even allow.
Yeah,
even if that's like a under the table, slap on the wrist. Don't do that. We ain't doing that just yet.
Yeah.
I love the PJ Fleck idea.
Okay.
But I didn't think that was plausible. Why the heck would you leave right now?
Yeah.
Come to that, especially, and this will be a little segue. Especially, I thought with a lot of the turn downs, I think he reached out. I really do. I believe White. He's got a lot of confidence. The guy's got a lot of swag, and the reason being is because he seems like he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a guy that, looking in some of these other ones, is like he is a top 5, top 7 AD. Like, people want that guy. I mean, he has nailed hirings. Look what he did with Oates at Buffalo, Pell at Buffalo. I mean, Scott Frost at UCF was huge. I mean, what
Yeah.
he's done with every basketball, football hiring's awesome. So I really believed what he was going to do. But I think a big part of it is what's going to happen. Do you believe that there's going to be sanctions come down, or do you think that because it's a total flip of the switch as far as top to bottom right now, turnover, do you think that you think the NCAA is going to let it slide, or do you think there's going to be a small, moderate, or heavy sanction on us?
I think it's going to be moderate. I think the thing that I keep hearing is that there's like close to 50 level 1 NCAA violations. Yeah. Like, yeah. 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 It's bad. Like it's really bad. I think the fact that we self-reported them is good but oof, I mean, there was some like shady business going on up in Knoxville, and it's worse. Like the McDonald's bags is just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it really is. Like they had some operations going on that were Hugh Freeze-esque for sure. So not to get into specifics, and maybe I don't want to be too specific, but there was a lot of things that were going on that the NCAA would absolutely not approve of. And it's one thing if it's going on in the dark, but then when you turn the lights on and everybody can see what's going on, then it's a little different. So hopefully the NCAA is not too bad. I do think that a lot of people are pointing at the LSU and the Kansas investigations with Bill Self, potentially offering Zion Williamson a lot of money to come there. And then, I don't know, LSU talking about paying players. That stuff is very pale in what's going on in comparison as far as what's come to light at the University of Tennessee. So let's hope it's not too bad, but it could be pretty ugly. And I think, honestly, that's probably why a lot of coaches didn't end up coming here that we reached out or weren't interested, that we may have reached out to and didn't offer.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting some calls out here. Big Mike Pipe needs some change in low key. Some of these cats are a little weary on your
Twitter handle.
the Twitter handle, bro. Getting called out here.
Oh man, it wasn't even a nickname that I chose; it was given to me. So
it's true. Mike, you are hungry AF.
That's what he was going for there, for sure.
There it is. But hey, man, it's memorable. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
But get back to it. I just don't see how you almost have to you have to look at it as, you know what, this year's kind of a wash. Even if it's pretty light, I think you're going to have a setback and some recruiting stuff's going to be tough. You're going to have to lose scholarships. You're going to have to lose some sort of postseason. There's got to be a combo of things. And it's going to be tough. Thoughts on 3 of our guys headed to Oklahoma? Eric Gray is now the newest one, along with Wanye.
They call that a pipeline on NCAA 13.
Yes, they do.
3 players from one state, and I don't know if it's the same way if you're pulling them as transfers from a university, but it's discouraging. But at the same time, from what I understand, I've heard that they transferred in part because they weren't sure that they would be eligible at the University of Tennessee, whereas Oklahoma can't really rule them out from playing until the investigation's finished at the University of Tennessee, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So while it's still ongoing, Tennessee would very likely hold them out because they could forfeit wins because of their ineligibility with the NCAA. But from what I'm understanding or what I'm hearing, it seems like Oklahoma wouldn't have to be as strict with that because they don't really know what's going on at the University of Tennessee or what happened at a previous institution. Therefore, they wouldn't be held accountable for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what I'm hearing. In some ways, it's like NCAA is NCAA. It's, collegiate wide. So why would that really make a difference? But I think because the investigation is kind of ongoing, that would maybe give them that window to participate until the findings are conclusive. So, Yeah,
That'll be
that's what I
interesting.
heard. That's what I heard. I heard that they didn't really necessarily want to leave. They love Tennessee. I mean, that's the impression I get from Henry T, from Eric Gray.
Same here.
I don't know so much about Wanya Morris if he was really loving it or what, but they don't strike me as guys that are really eager to hit the door. But I think with everything that's going on, they kind of had to do what was best for them and their careers going forward. Well, I don't know. Henry T, has he made official announcement yet on where he's going?
No, not
Yeah.
official yet. Which the rumor has it there's two people coming back, but we don't know who and when.
Okay.
So with that being said, I actually think Henry T might be one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Actually do believe that he is probably one of those guys. He wasn't. My little brother and I were talking about this the other day. Actually, is like with Henry T. He was on a level of like he was on his way to becoming that Admiral Schofield type tier for Vols fans. Like, your level ones are Peyton, probably Eric Berry, Ernie and Bernie.
Yep.
There's a ton of softball players. Reggie White. Like those are your like tier ones. But he was on that like next maybe third tier of like Vol stardom.
Yeah.
And he was on that way. And if he finishes out at Tennessee, goes on, I mean, he realistically could become a first round talent. He has the ability. I know he took a pretty deep dive as far as what his play was this year, but I do believe that he can come back and really make an impact, turn into a huge leader this year. Like this is one of those times where like it's weird little movie moment type stuff. You can rally through this and turn into a leader and kind of change a narrative. And he's got to get a little weight back on him again and turn into like this absolute stud on a resurgent team. I do believe with Heupel, you're gonna beat some people because you're gonna have a new offense people have not seen in the SEC. You're gonna go out there and win a couple games. You probably shouldn't put up some big numbers, and those big stage games. Henry gets a couple big plays. There's some momentum his way, and then you got it next year. So it's like, man, if you stay, you're going to be a star. I mean, unless he gets an offer to go somewhere big, if he does get an Oklahoma or something like that, it's tough to compete with that. But if he wants to be an absolute star at a big time university, stay and play, man, because Henry T's on that level because he's the best you got. He's the absolute best we got probably right now as far as on that way, especially since Smith left this year. Trey was awesome. He's going to kill it in the NFL. He was an absolute stud, but Henry could really elevate himself as far as a VFL, if you will, to get a little cliche in the Vols world. But
yeah, no, you're spot on with that, man. And I think that's one thing you got to think about: the connections, the way that he would be respected in the Knoxville community. I mean, if he goes somewhere and let's say he plays for 1 year and then he goes pro, I mean, certainly people are going to kind of know who he is because he's a special player and a special talent. But if he were to stay in this middle of this transition period, he's still going to get a lot of playing time, a lot of spotlight at the University of Tennessee, playing in the SEC. If I believe he's NFL talent, and I think that if he has a positive step for next season, that he could see himself going first 3 rounds, maybe first 2 rounds. I would like to see him improve in coverage, but that's something that can happen over the offseason. He can get a little slider a little quicker. And I don't know how much of that was schematic and how much that's guys around him, but all that to say, I mean, guys like that, if you were to stay and you are VFL, I mean, you can come back and you can, I don't want to say run Knoxville, but guys will give you, he could make 6 figures in Knoxville doing about probably 100 different things because of how well respected he would be when he comes back after his NFL career or however things turn out for him. Just because he is that, like you're saying, that VFL, like, maybe he's not Peyton, he's not the top tier, but he's not too far off as far as what he could be, the kind of guy he is, the leader he is, the player he is. Like, he's one of those guys that's really a good face for the program and a face for the university, like a Trey Smith, like an Admiral, like a Grant Williams. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he sticks around. I have heard that he is enrolled in classes this year, that he's still considering transferring, but that he might be in classes potentially right now. So I don't know, just a rumor, nothing concrete on that.
That's
But
what do you, last thing here.
mhm.
Do you like not knowing? Did you like not really knowing this whole week? Because everything I felt like was just a huge guess. Where I feel like in the previous times we've actually the Vol Twitter world has gotten to know a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I kind of liked the unknown more, maybe
Oh,
because it's new to this coaching search for Tennessee fans. But I don't know about you. I don't know if you liked it or not.
it was weird because it was like usually I follow the coaching searches like religiously. Like
Yes. Oh, Mike
I
Pipe loves them.
I love coaching searches more than almost anything. I so anyway, all that to say, it was kind of weird. There wasn't really a lot of like nuggets, like like this is
Mhm.
going on, this person's being interviewed. Like you kind of just heard more like whispers of what was going on behind the scenes or who he might be interviewing. But honestly, nobody seemed to know like anything. So I don't know. It was weird because it was still fun, but it was like going back to like the Gruden years where you're getting all these rumors that like John Gruden's coming. Oh man, like all and that was legendary. Like that was entertainment for weeks on end. Like I can't tell you how many hours I lost. But anyway, it was a little different than that, but it was kind of nice. Like you never knew what was going on. And I think at that time, I thought we were going to get this elite hire. I don't even know what an elite hire would be. Maybe Matt Campbell. I think in my mind, I thought, okay, like it's going to be Matt Campbell from Iowa State.
That's
And,
what that was who I was thinking. Like if we were gonna, because only thing I heard was a rumor. It was never confirmed, but a friend and I were talking about. It was like 5 years 40, and I was like, who would that be to lure away?
mhm. Yep,
Yeah,
that was the same thing. I heard the exact same thing, and that's why I was like, okay. I kind of did the same math in my head, and I'm like, all right. And then that shortly after that, I guess the next day, that was when people started saying James Franklin. I was like, okay, that also makes sense. But
yeah, that's same thought.
yeah. So, but I was thinking Matt Campbell, and I would have been fired up, man. But I like how it turned out. I think Heupel still could be a really good hire, but that guy Matt Campbell would have been a big time hire for sure.
Big time. I don't know. I don't know if any of these coaches maybe it's just way above market value, but maybe Franklin. Maybe Franklin. I don't
Yeah.
know if any of those guys, Fleck, Campbell.
Mm-mm.
I mean, unless it was like flipping the switch and you're getting, I don't even know who, man. It would have to have been big time for me to say 5 for 40. Like that would have had to have been like stealing away somebody from like an NFL OC that was just an absolute stud. I don't even know, like Josh McDaniels or I mean, it would have to be something crazy. Like I can't even imagine like who you'd pay 5 for 40 with. That's not Urban Meyer,
Mhm.
Stoops,
Yeah. Yeah.
like something like that.
Nick
I,
Saban.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I was just thinking like, who the heck could you lure away
Mhm.
for 5 for 40? But you can probably lure away a lot of coaches, especially like the Matt Campbells and the PJ Flex the world that are, on lower, not well, middle ground, upper middle ground programs in their respective conferences. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I think, you come down to Tennessee, it's crazy to think about. I heard this today, and this was a last little nugget here, but besides South Carolina making it one time, the SEC East winner has always been Tennessee, Florida, or Georgia. And
Wow.
then the only other person, and then I think it's very similar on the west side, because I actually thought about this. Ole Miss has never made it to the SEC championship. It's always been Bama, LSU, and Arkansas. Bama, LSU, and Auburn, and then Arkansas has only made it once.
Wow.
Isn't
Wow.
that crazy to think about?
That is crazy.
That's a product of Steve Hurd knowledge today.
Steve Herb. So
Yeah.
you got Bama, LSU, Auburn, Arkansas once, you said?
I think Arkansas maybe once or maybe a couple times.
I think we played Arkansas in 98, actually, now that I think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
And then South Carolina's only been one time in the East.
Mm.
That's it.
That's wild.
That's a wild stat. Never really thought about that, but that's serious. That's my final nugget for the day, buddy.
All right. I dig it. Good nug. Good nug.
Yeah. big game in basketball coming up Saturday. Kansas going to be a sweet Big 12 versus SEC matchup. I'll be hanging around this weekend, but stay tuned. We got a really fun sponsored watch party here in Chattanooga at Parkway Poorhouse. That's who our sponsor is.
Let's
Best
go.
freaking wings in Chattanooga.
Hands down.
Oh my gosh, I love it down there. My boy George, owner down there, he's a great dude. He's taking care of us. We got a sweet sponsorship coming up with a little fun site. We'll say that it's gonna be pretty sweet. Get some free swag, some free booze for some peeps that want to come in, and sign up for this program. It'll be fun. So yeah, stay tuned. Next week we'll have that on here, and we're gonna have a new sponsorship coming in, baby.
Let's go. Let's
yeah,
go.
man. We'll get some free promo codes and stuff out for peeps. So stay tuned. As always, welcome to Volhalla, Mike Pipe. I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you.
Yep. As always, like, subscribe. We're going to be posting this on Apple, Spotify, the YouTubes, wherever you want to listen to if you want to watch it later. Appreciate you guys. Peace out.